Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Addison, Zach, Paget, and Madeline about Hypochondriac, which is going to be playing this year at South by Southwest. Thank you all for your time. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Very excited to be here.
There's a lot of people here. This is there's a lot of pressure. I feel like there's a lot of amazing.
You got this, man. You got this. You okay? You got this.
I don't know. There's a lot of talented people in this interview right now. So, Addison, I mean, we'll start with that. I mean, you put together, like you and the team put together an amazing cast for this. We talked about it before we started. I mean, there's a lot kind of going on with this film. There's a lot at play. It's not just kind of your typical horror movie. There's a lot of kind of messages in there. I mean, what was the mindset kind of putting together this movie right out of the gate?
You know, when people say it's based off my mental breakdown, which is super fun and something I think we've all experienced. So we love a mental breakdown moment. But I went through all of that where basically my arms lost function. My mom's bipolar, that confluence of events maybe convinced me that I was dying, and then kind of lost 6 months of my life. Yeah. And so when I was, I wrote it kind of in as a term of like therapy at first, which is very bad and no one will see the light of day. In fact, my friend screenshotted the first page of the first draft and I was like, oh no. But they don't never see the light of day, so no big deal. But yeah, so starting with the script, honestly, I come from theater. I come from an acting background. Like, I love actors. They're my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing about filmmaking, especially because I didn't go to film school. So my cinematographer had to make everything pretty. I helped, but not as much as he helped. But, get the people, on board and to have, whether it was through auditions or just like, talking to people, like meeting with everybody. It's like, we all just kind of were on the same page. We're like, this story is important. It's about mental health. It's about, the struggle that I think we all experience, especially I feel like since, with the pandemic and all that stuff, like a lot more people are starting to understand what, depression and anxiety and all that stuff go through. And so like all of us had our own story and we're like, I identify with this, I identify with this, I identify with this. And then we're all like, cool, can we do it? Can we make it? And everybody said yes. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because that's the biggest part of directing is getting together the cast. Because like if you're good enough and you set the shot up like Maddie and Zach and Paget and everybody else in the cast did, you're just like, oh cool, I could just like say a few things and we could collaborate together. But for the most part, like just like speeding through on that train and everybody killed it. So
absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah, Zach, I mean,
does that answer your question? But yeah. I'm gonna every time I'm be like, does that answer your question? And it might not, but that's okay.
He'll be like, no, not at all.
Yes, it does.
And I'll be like, great.
Zach, you did an amazing job in this film. I feel like on the surface, kind of with Addison just explaining, what it's based on and everything. I mean, it's a lot, right? This is gonna be an emotional ride making this film and playing this character. What's the mindset specifically right out of the gate when you get this role and you're kind of preparing? What's kind of going through your mind, knowing that mental health is at play here a lot? It's a horror film. I'm just curious what the mindset is.
A couple things. I mean, look, any role, like when I usually jump in, the process is the same, right? Yeah. It's just preparation. It's going to the script and luckily, I'm working with words and a script and a story that is fantastic. Like those don't. There's a lot of good stuff out there, but every once in a while, there's something that's really special. And when I picked this up, I read it for the first time. I was like, "Oh, this is. I know this. I know this guy. I know this world, and I know, and I have life experience that that runs parallel." And so, Addison and I, when I went through the script, I realized, oh, him and I have a lot of parallel experiences. He's had to deal with mental illness in his family. And I think everybody has, something in the annals of their family, whether it be immediate or extended or themselves. And we're getting more and more aware, about talking about these kinds of things in today's world. And for me, it was my half brother. I had to deal with him being diagnosed with schizophrenic when I was younger. Yep. And he's doing great now. But that's through a lot of management and treatment, and it was difficult for me and my family to work through.
Yeah.
And that's not like the postcard of like, that's what I bring to this film. I guess my point is that it's more normal and more common than, society gives it credit for, that these things affect people's lives.
Yeah.
And so when I picked it up and I read just from the few side pages that I had and very limited information I had, I was like, oh, I know who Will is. And I've never felt like this about a film before. I was like, oh, this has to be me.
Yeah.
I knew that before I was cast. I knew that before I read the side pages. I was like, oh, this is mine. Mm-hmm. I know that.
Yeah.
And I went in with that mindset, and that's probably part of why I booked it. But there was another level of like, oh, this is supposed to be me. And I was just very grateful for it.
And you did an amazing job, and people are going to see it at South by Southwest. Exciting. Paget, how's it going?
Thank you so much. Because I have not seen Addison and Zach I worked with. Madeline, I didn't get the chance to on this, and I haven't seen them. And I just wanted to say, guys, I was so, so, so impressed. And as an audience member, you go on this journey, and it's funny and agonizing and touching and horrifying and upsetting. And I've never seen a script be that great, then even better once it's done. Haven't seen that. The only other movie I did that was another Bay Dara's movie, the Welcome to Happiness. That guy produces like as if he's a mean guy. He's so good, and he's not mean. So you guys must have been so exhausted when you finished doing this, because it's such a journey, which I know they use too much on The Bachelor, but I'm so excited to see you. And thanks, Pete, for giving me that opportunity. Did you have a question? Sorry.
I did, but to add to that quickly, Addison, maybe you could just say, yeah, I agree. But the pace, there are times where it's like, it's a lot going on. It's very quick pace. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, right. I mean, and that's the thing too. It's like, I'm very grateful. I mean, having we shot it in ways that it was like every set piece had its own chunk. So Madeline and Zach and Umari, the coworker, all worked for those first 3 days, and that was the first. Maddie was the first scene. She's like, I was like, okay, we're gonna shoot this
first
Instagram
scene,
video.
Maddie.
Yeah, and I was just like, and she was like, okay, all right. And I'm like, girl, I'm nervous too. I mean, here we go. And
what the fuck is this? What are we doing?
We're starting it okay, we're starting with she's shooting Instagram content, describing all this stuff, and that's the first thing. And we're like, what a weird scene to start with. And
that is a great sweater, by the way. We talked about before we started. You stood up and you see the whole thing. But I did have a question. Criminal Minds, but look at Criminal Minds, not comedy, but a lot of your other work is comedy. A lot of work you have done is in the comedy sphere. This is not comedy at all. This is, this is not. So I'm just wondering, because you've worked in comedy for such a long time, when opportunities like this come where it's something different compared to all of the big, the main bodies of work you work on, do you get excited? Do you pounce on it? Is that is there a rush doing something that you're not usually used to doing? I'm curious about that. That's
so funny, because I never did horror. Mm-hmm. I was never cast in horror because I can't scream. I make I'm not a good screamer. So, but what happened was this was shot right in the middle of the pandemic, and I'm a hermit to begin with. So when Bay sent me the script, I was like, oh, first time director. Oh, no money. Oh, pandemic. I hope this sucks. I hope it sucks and I can say no. And I read it, and it was so good that I was like, oh God, now I have to go do this. But I love Zach. I've been a fan of his. And man. How could you say no? I had to do it, and still thought, and met Addison and talked to him and was like, oh, this guy's great. I got to do it. This is great. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to wear a visor. I've gained 15 pounds. My hair's gray. There's not going to be beauty lighting involved in this. And I'm so glad I did it, because it's even better. It's even better than what I thought it was going to be. I've never seen a movie like this. So
Addison, this is marketing 101 right now.
Yeah, but she's not wrong.
She's not.
You guys.
I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud to be a part of it, even a small part. I think it's an extraordinary movie. And I mean, I don't want to bring up certain things, but certain scenes where you go, oh God, that's right. You have to live with it. Like just these beautiful moments. Yeah. I just think it's extraordinary. So I wasn't excited. I'm excited now. Yeah. I didn't want to leave the house, but I love the script.
But she left for Bay and Addison's dope-ass movie.
And you!
But it's so interesting. And Madeline, I call you Maddie, right?
Call me whatever,
okay,
yeah. I answer to hey you. Usually whatever character name the person.
I will not do that. I will not say, okay. But I find it interesting, Maddie, because I was about to say I find it interesting, hey you. But I'm not going to do that. But, you know, this is an amazing film, but most importantly, this is an important film, if you think about it. So I'm just curious, you know, you've worked on a lot of amazing TV shows and a lot of films, and you have worked on some that are important. You have worked on some that we talked about before that are just kind of like, you know, escapism, comedy, you know, a Cinderella story that we talked about. But what's it like when you get to work on a movie like Hypochondriac, which is an important film?
Well, I first of all just really enjoyed the people I was working with. Yep. Aside from trying to do something that hopefully is meaningful to people, which is way out of the hands of the actor. But mainly for me, it's about the experience. And I also was a fan of Zach. And Addison was
guys.
I love the script. I know Zach. He'd also worked with my sister, and she was like, "He's really nice. He's nice to work with." And I was like, "Good," because life's
He's also a very good musician. His lump cover from Presidents of the United States is available now on Spotify if you want to listen to that.
Hey, look at that!
Covering all the bases.
That's a great cover, Zach. I'm a big music guy. That's a great cover. You did a good job. Sorry.
Oh shoot, we're gonna talk about pop punk later. Don't you worry.
Yeah,
that's good.
Sorry, go ahead, Maddie.
Yeah,
go back, Maddie. I can keep up. No, I just loved the experience of working with them and Mari. They were fantastic actors. And so I'm sad I didn't have any scenes with Paget because I seriously love her and have loved her for, you know.
Yeah, that was a really amazing moment when before we started where you were saying nice to meet you to each other and you were like, I don't have scenes with you. We don't have scenes together, but oh my God, that was Addison, that was a cool moment, wasn't it?
It's just
man.
I'm so excited. Also, what you did with Blossom, is a whole other storyline in the movie that this is what she does and sells and promotes, but she's a creep.
That was so much fun.
It was beautiful.
I got to be a female predator, which is just so empowering. I was like, what creepy guys feel like all the time. I can just exert my will on somebody else and get away with it and be like, exactly. By the way, shout out to The Bachelor last night doing all the gaslighting. That was insane. So a guy can just do all this stuff and then be like, you're crazy for feeling that way. I've done all these horrible things to you. Why are you upset about it? So it was an amazing character to step into. I had so much fun making Zach uncomfortable, and he got his revenge with the apron.
Whoops.
You're good. But yeah, I had so much fun. So that's what it's about for me. Honestly, more than how it turns out, which again, when you're an actor, you don't have much of a say in that. I just enjoy being with cool people who are talented. For me, it's about the hang and getting inspired by each other. So I felt that.
What did we say? What did we say in the kitchen when we first met up at Addison's place to a social? We were it's about being in the room. Was it you kept saying it. You were like, we're in the club, we're doing the movie.
We're invited to the party. You guys, we all
invited to the party. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
If you get cast in anything, it's like a miracle. Yeah. And you're like, I was chosen, I was picked, I was invited to the party. And so it's let's make the most of it and give each other hugs, especially during pandemic time. I really needed the job, and it was a joy to work on it. Mm-hmm. And Addison was a joy to work with. So it was I don't know.
Was that I feel like that was 50-50 in the pandemic, because I know there's a lot of people that were they wanted to work, but they just they weren't comfortable going back, right? They didn't want to do it because of the pandemic. But then there was a lot of people that were just kind of waiting for that call, right? Like, bring me on with all the protocols and everything. Like, was that 50-50, do you think? Because like I feel like there wasn't that many things going on in the beginning of the pandemic shooting wise, but I was wondering, like, anyone can talk about that. Like, I feel it was 50-50. Some people like wanted to go back because they missed it, but a lot of people might have not been comfortable right away.
I want to jump in with that because I'm an NPR slut, not to be a Debbie Downer, but I think it's about socioeconomics, right? Like I think at the end of the day, it's like, it depends on where you're at in your career, right? Like I wanted to work. I wanted to work, but I'm in this transitional period, right? Like I've done some stuff and I'm having a crazy year and like things are turning out and it's amazing. But at the same time, I got to pay my rent and I got to take care of my partners and I got to, deal with my life. So like I was caught in this weird middle-class actor place where I was like, oh shit, I need money bad. Yeah. Like it's, like I spent things in the year before where I was like, oh, I'm preparing for the ride of my life in 2020. And instead,
got a Lambo.
I was like, let's go, baby. I got the suits for the shit to go to be seen, to do the, and I was like, PR, baby. And, and then I was like, wow, I really honestly probably should have bought a bus and bought some Bitcoin. And that, regrets. But I guess my point is that as actors, I think a lot of people, lose sight, especially when you're coming up, that like we don't have a lot of choice, right? No. Like it's a collaborative art form, and when you're invited to the party, it's like, oh, thank God, I get to do my craft, But 90% of the job is getting work, and then you get there, and you're like, oh, I can finally do the thing that I am amazing at. You know what I mean? So it's just funny, like. I of course I wanted to work, but I also knew that I felt like I needed to do my part. I needed to stay home, keep my mask on, wait until this thing blew over. Yeah. And I my tolerance for that was pretty long lived until it wasn't, and then things had gone on so long. I was like, okay, now dad really needs to go to work. Like I have to go.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Which isn't like a sexy interpretation or answer your question, but I think it's a complicated thing,
Paget?
I'm gonna back Zach up because as the oldest person on this Zoom, having done my time in the 18-hour day CBS procedural, I banked that. I have a Mini Cooper, so I've been doing cartoon recording from this house for the whole pandemic. So it's definitely socioeconomic. It's, am I getting residuals from anything? Do I have to keep my kids? Now I'm teaching and trying to get a job. What was so confusing early on in the pandemic is people saying, this is happening, we're shooting, we're doing it. And you were like, okay, I'm ready to go. I guess we'll see what happens. And then stuff just shut down. And I know a lot of people have not been able to make their insurance premiums. And that's terrifying.
It was. No, absolutely. No, for sure. But there was, well, I have some friends of mine. I mean, this is a film about mental health. It became a mental health thing. Like they couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Even if they had to, financially and everything, it was like hard for them to do it. You know what I mean?
To stay idle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Idle hands, man. Idle hands breeds madness. It's like, work begets work. And when you're not doing the thing that you're meant to do in life, you start to lose sight. You start to lose purpose. And then it's like, what the hell is life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it can drive you crazy. And I think we all went through some version of that in every career,
No, absolutely.
It's just funny because I had like my own version of a pandemic because I broke down January to June of 2019. And so I was like, and that was when I gave up pretty much because I was like, nothing's going to happen with me. I couldn't even talk about film. I was watching Scandinavian detective dramas because, that was the only thing that I would get me out of bed and onto the couch right next to my bed, so like
relatable.
Yeah. So like, and then it was just like, the pandemic hit and I was like, oh no, I know what's going to happen to these people because I just went through this again. And like, I didn't, and I like it happened to me too because we're all going through extreme isolation. I feel like we got really, really lucky because we were spent a year and a half in pre-production and shot it in June of 2021, which I don't know if anybody remembers, is when we all thought the pandemic was over the first time. I think there's been 3 pandemic endings so far.
Yeah, I was going to say the second time, because there was also that time in the fall where everybody was like, shoot everything. Yeah, and we were trying to do that too. Yeah, and then it went away. So for a minute there, I was like, are we ever going to make this movie? Dear God.
Are you talking about, and then there was like a pause, right? Like everyone went back and then there was like another pause for 3 months.
There was another pause for another surge. Yeah. And then, and so then we just got, vaccines had been approved. Almost everybody was like, or that could be, was vaccinated. And we made it in like that little low point. And so we got no positive tests. And honestly, that was just the bane of my existence. Anybody on set on the FP3, anybody can attest. It's like that morning COVID test. I was like, I'm taking a 20-minute walk. And I'm going to come back, and if we're okay, we get to keep making this goddamn movie.
For sure. But I do want to say, Addison, because I have a sister that goes through a lot of PTSD and everything, and we have a lot of these talks. And I do have to say, sometimes when it seems like it's hard to get out of the rut and to kind of overcome a lot of things, it does happen. I mean, look, we're doing an interview right now for your amazing movie with these amazing, talented people right now. And I just wanted to say that right now, man. And I wanted to say congratulations, seriously. And I'm happy for you, man, seriously.
I really appreciate that. I mean, listen, like, I said this like the third day on set, and I cried, and everyone was like, okay. I mean, it was a good crying. It was a good community, but it was just one of those things where it's like, I stood back for the first time, not really thinking about it, because it was always go, trying to plan this thing and being like, oh my God, the amount of people who have agreed to do this movie and have responded to the story and have like, no one worked for their rate. You're talking to 3 actors who have been on a lot of shit and
some of the best TV shows like of all time.
There's no argument. There's literally no argument.
American Horror Story, Criminal Minds, Californication.
Sorry,
continue.
We're all kind of a really big deal. Just so we're all.
Here's a small little gay mental health story that everybody responds. There's no words. I mean, everybody. It's just so great. I mean, I wouldn't be here with it. It's a film by all of us, It's not just a film by me. There's no Wordsworth theory here. Like, I could not have done this movie with every person who took a part of it, contributed, and made it what it is. And I'm just so grateful.
I'm a hype Addison for 20 seconds. The thing is that he was described as like, oh yeah, he really gets actors. Like, he's an actor's director, And it was like when I worked with him, because that means something different to every actor. But when I got to work with him, it was honestly a blessing that I think that the pandemic pushed our shoot over a year, because I got to become friends with that man. And since so much of it is personal to him and somewhat autobiographical, and in certain cases, I got to do a year-long character study, getting to know, someone that I trust and that I actually just like in real life, in addition to working. And so it was so intense to be like, oh, right, these kinds of collaborations, especially with director actors, because I don't know about y'all, but sometimes that's a fraught relationship, and sometimes I'm just like, let me just try, let me just do it, like, get out of my way. And this project really reaffirmed that, oh, right, when the collaboration is good, it can really elevate a performance and elevate a set. And to that, Paget and Maddie, you guys both brought, I want to do what you did, Paget, and just say you guys were fucking amazing in the film. And it's so cool because Maddie brought, such like a comedic tone that blended so well with what Paget and I had to do. And it's just, it all lives in the same world. And it's just a tribute to how important the film is. And everybody was on that team from day one.
Absolutely. So. No, for sure. And, I wanted to thank you all for coming on the show to chat about this film, because it was a great time chatting with all of you. So thank you so much for your time. And Addison, it's going to be running at South by Southwest this year. So you can quickly plug away about tickets and the dates and everything.
Yes. 1 second, because
Wait, I need to write this down too. So go ahead. I'm ready. I don't have this information.
Yeah, I got little business cards with the thing for the Southwest. But yes, it's playing at the Alamo Draft House.
Sweet.
South Lamar, March 14th at 9:30 p.m. will be our premiere, and then we'll have another screening the next day at 3:15 March 15th. And then March 17th, we'll have another screening, our final screening at 9:45 p.m. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday of the festival.
And there's an Instagram account for the film, right?
Yes, hypochondriac.film. Follow it and we'll send you all the updates and all that kind of stuff.
And Maddie, quickly, can you plug your Instagram and social media so people could follow you?
Oh, at Maddie Zima.
Paget?
And, yeah.
Oh, what's the other one?
Oh, and just Twitter, Madeline Zima 1, because someone else had stolen my whatever. I had to.
Yeah, they got your name. Yeah.
Paget, what about you?
I couldn't get my name either. I'm at Paget Graham on Instagram and at Paget on Twitter, but I'm not good at it. And sometimes I, have some wine and go on and say the wrong thing. So
that makes you great at it. That makes
No, you're pretty Paget. I follow you. You're pretty good.
Oh God.
I love when you point at all the things you're doing, and I'm like, Paget's doing something.
Zach, what about you quickly? And there's some music too, right? They could check out.
Yeah. I also winegram, so please follow me at ZACHVILLA, Zach Villa, but it's pronounced Villa because I'm Mexican. Zach Villa, and then my band is called Sorry Kyle. We have a full record coming out very soon. You can follow us at Sorry Kyle Music.
Yeah.
And then I've got some solo music coming out too, which is pretty sick. Also pop punk and emo.
Yeah, and I'm into that
with MGK.
Zach, I'm into all that music, so we're definitely gonna have to do another interview where we talk about the pop punk stuff for sure. Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Email me.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Let's go.
And Addison, quickly, your social media.
Yeah, it's at AddieBear5, ADDYBEAR5. The 5 just because Addie Bear was taken, and I don't know, 5 doesn't have anything important to me, but now it is there. And I know people on Instagram who know my but not my name. It doesn't matter. Wow, this went further than I needed it to. But yeah, Instagram.
Plug away. Well, this has been Pop Alternative, youtube.com/Pop Alternative for previous episodes. You're going to be able to catch Hypochondriac this year at South by Southwest. Until next time, this is Maddie, Addison, Paget, Zachary, and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Pop Alternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Pop Alternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Pop Alternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.